There are people who die over things that never happened. People who stopped loving for fear of the end, who rejected opportunities by anticipating failures. There are parents who raise their children based on the traumas they believe they will have. And there are entire lives sacrificed in the name of a future that, when it arrives, charges dearly for having been feared for so long. Everyone lives today as if they have a contract with tomorrow, but tomorrow never promised anything. It is strange, but real. Much of what you do now, at this exact moment, has nothing to do with the present. You eat, choose your clothes, your friends, your job, all based on a hypothesis, a gamble, a prediction. Bachelard understood this before many others. Life is not what we were. Life is what we can still be. You work because you believe the salary will come. You exercise because you imagine future health. You remain silent in arguments because you hope things will improve. You save for trips you might never take. You deprive yourself. You mold yourself. You limit yourself. All for a future that does not yet exist, but already dominates you. Most human decisions are born from a place that hasn't happened yet. And this is beautiful and tragic, because the future can be both a driving force and a confining cell. Bachelard did not see time as a straight line. For him, the future could infiltrate the present, like a shadow that shapes forms without being seen. The imagination of the future reorganizes our experience. And here is the idea we are going to explore with grit and reason. The future is a memory we have not yet had, but which already commands everything. Memory of the future. A concept as strange as it is true. Think of someone with an anxiety disorder. This person is not reacting to the now, but to what they believe is coming. And their body, their brain, respond as if the disaster has already occurred. Science confirms it. The prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus activate networks similar to those we use to remember, only instead of retrieving the past, they simulate the future. That is, biologically, suffering from anticipation is like suffering from recollection. This video is about that, about how our mind, our feelings, our governments, religions, economies, and even our loves are under the domain of a time that has not yet arrived. We are going to cover 5 chapters that dismantle the common logic of time and show how the future, that ghost of what is yet to be, is perhaps the greatest architect of your life. But first of all, who would you be if you had no fear of what might happen? What decisions would you make today if tomorrow were not silently watching you? Most people do not see the world as it is. They see it as they fear it will become, or worse, as they wish it to be. Almost no one accesses pure, raw, objective reality, because every gaze is already contaminated by a projected tomorrow. It is as if future time, even without existing, puts glasses on us. And those glasses distort everything we call now. Gaston Bachelard spoke of time as something multiple. He did not accept the idea of a straight line where the past pushes the present toward the future. For him, the future anticipates the present. It reorganizes it. It edits it. Time does not run in a line. It contracts, expands, reverses. The future can mold the past by anticipation. This sounds like poetry, but it is pure anatomy of the human experience. Think of a 17-year-old from a marginalized neighborhood who refuses a job because they know they will be fired in 6 months. Or a woman who avoids emotional relationships because she is certain she will be betrayed. Or a man who rejects new paths because he has already created, mentally, all possible disasters. Are they wrong? Sometimes, yes. But the point is that they believe so much in the future image that it becomes as concrete as the ground they stand on. Fear of what does not exist becomes the judge of what can exist, and the lens is formed. Modern psychology has a name for this: emotional anticipation bias. It is the phenomenon by which our mind reacts to the future as if it were present. Studies show that much of our anxiety comes not from real situations, but from mental simulations of scenarios that never materialize. The brain fires alerts, activates the amygdala, alters heart rate, all because of internal images that seem too real not to be obeyed. And the most curious thing, even when the future never materializes, it has already caused enough damage in the present. Bachelard saw this as a type of sophisticated prison. Whoever lives projected into tomorrow loses the freshness of presence, but he did not see it as a failure, but as a phenomenon of temporal imagination. Imagination was not just daydreaming. It was the structure of thought. And the imagination of the future is a form of anticipated memory. That is, what you think is going to happen already starts to happen inside you. And don't think this is just personal. In politics, the lens of the future is used with strategic precision. Governments build discourses about what might come: economic collapse, imminent war, foreign invasion, water scarcity, and they mold behaviors in the now based on those invented futures. Objective reality is irrelevant. What matters is the power of anticipation. In religion, paradise, or the apocalypse guides entire lives. People who kneel, deprive themselves, deny themselves, not because of something they are living, but because of something they believe is coming. And that belief, as strong as a memory, configures an existential lens. Bachelard would say that the entire present is reimagined by the image of the future, and that is what we do. We do not see the now as it is. We see it as we fear or desire it to transform. And as long as we do not understand this process, we will be manipulated by it. The lens is in our eyes, but we were taught to believe the fault lies with the world. There are those who die waiting for someone to return, waiting for the government to change, waiting for a divine sign to solve things, waiting for the future to fix what the present does not have the courage to touch. And in that wait, life dissolves. Slowly, sweetly, like sugar in hot coffee, hope can be as toxic as fear. Only it is applauded. We were taught that waiting is a virtue, that those who believe always achieve, but they did not say that there are waits that only serve to keep us immobile, waits that make us docile. Waiting too long is a sophisticated form of surrender. Gaston Bachelard treated time as a fluid structure. He saw the future not as a place to be reached, but as a force that reorganizes the now. The future is an invitation, but it does not answer for anyone. And when that invitation is accepted passively, hope stops being a motor and turns into anesthesia. Entire peoples have been defeated by hope. In Latin America, how many times do we hear, "This time it will work"? How many political cycles were born of the desire for a redemptive future and died in the same empty promise? Meanwhile, the wait sustained the system. Hope is a social containment technique, and it is not just in politics, but in personal life. Many maintain abusive relationships because, deep down, he will change. People drag years of unhappiness under the idea that the future will bring answers, but the future delivers nothing by itself. Whoever waits too long yields. Whoever waits too long accepts. Hope can be the beautiful name for a well-made-up surrender. Bachelard saw a philosophical paradox in hope. It only makes sense if it is active. Sterile waiting is the absence of imagination. It is the death of creative time. Waiting is not the problem. The problem is waiting with folded arms. Science has also noticed this. A study by Carleton University, Canada, shows that high levels of unrealistic optimism are linked to chronic procrastination. The brain, fed by the "everything will be fine" without concrete action, tends to become paralyzed in the face of difficulty. Hope, without movement, is anesthesia. Active hope is planning. Look at the contrast. The terminally ill person who waits for a miracle and denies treatment. The young person who waits for the perfect idea and never starts. The voter who votes with their eyes closed because, this time, it will be different. Hope, used like this, slows down change while promising it. Bachelard saw time as malleable, but demanding. It is not enough to dream. It is necessary to work the dream into the matter of the present. The imagination of the possible is fertile, but only when it is fed by the gesture. That is, desiring is not enough. Whoever only desires becomes an accomplice to paralysis. If fear projects negative scenarios that block us, hope projects positive scenarios that accommodate us. Both operate with the same mechanism, the future as a substitute for the present. Only fear screams and hope caresses. That is why it is more dangerous, more comfortable, more marketable. Perhaps the problem is not hope, but the way it is taught, as waiting, not as a project. And meanwhile, thousands of people will continue to live for a time that never arrives. Not because it does not exist, but because no one acts while dreaming with their eyes closed. When hope does not go hand in hand with responsibility, it becomes only an alibi for remaining paralyzed. And time, that which Bachelard was so wary of, charges dearly for every minute that was externalized to the future. The human being is the only animal capable of suffering over something that has not happened. But this is not an evolutionary error. It is a sophisticated trick. We invented the future because the reality of the now, naked and uncertain, is unbearable without promises. Tomorrow is the most necessary lie we have told ourselves. Gaston Bachelard understood this with an almost cruel clarity. The future is not a place. It is a construction, a necessary fiction. And what we do, all the time, is architect that fiction. Because life in the present, on its own, cannot bear the weight of consciousness, pain, monotony, loss, injustice. All of this becomes more tolerable when we fill our heads with what is to come. But that is to come is an invention. The future does not exist outside the mind. It is not in the sky, nor in space, nor at a point on the calendar. The future is an agreement between brains that want to endure the now. That is why religions promise paradise, politicians promise stability, economists talk about growth, couples in crisis plan long trips. No one withstands the pure present. Everyone needs a piece of well-told lie to keep going. Bachelard saw a creative phenomenon in time. He rejected the notion that time simply passes. For him, time is woven, and we are the weavers. Time is imagined, and by being imagined, it reorganizes us. Modern cognitive psychology supports this. Studies in neuroscience show that our brain builds temporal narratives as a way of maintaining a cohesive identity. Without a sense of future, the self falls apart. The isolated present is disorienting. So we create a timeline, even if false, so that life seems to make sense. You have surely felt this. On those nights when everything loses, meaning when reality seems suspended, stagnant. These are moments of pure present, without argument, without a visible future. And what do we feel? Anguish? Despair? Because the pure present is unbearable. It offers no way out. So we invent ways out. This is exactly where Bachelard takes a turn. The rationality of time lies in its invention, not its discovery. In other words, the future is a fiction we write so as not to go crazy, and that's fine, as long as we know it is fiction. Because the problem begins when we confuse projection with reality, when we forget that the future is not given, it is built. And worse, that it is being built now, by actions that we often externalize to that abstract promise. Observe the corporate world. How many people live under the promise of a promotion that never arrives? How many families sustain entire narratives based on plans that are never carried out? The future, in this sense, functions as a kind of phantom currency. It buys patience. It buys sacrifice. It buys submission. And it is only possible because everyone agrees to pretend it is there. The most perverse thing. This collective invention of the future is used as an instrument of control. Governments, companies, religions, even relationships, everyone can use tomorrow as a method of obedience. Keep going, it will get better. Be strong, your time will come. Wait, the future rewards. But what if it doesn't reward? Bachelard did not see the future as a solution. For him, the future is a philosophical problem. something that only has value when used consciously, with lucidity. The free person is the one who recognizes that time is their creation. That is, the only way to free yourself from the prison of the future is to recognize that it is not a destiny, it is a work, and you are the author. Without this, we will always be governed by a fiction written by others, and we will live in a present domesticated by futures we did not choose. The greatest cowardice of our era is not in the acts, it is in the justifications, in the discourse that it is not the right time, in the one day I will do it, in the I haven't had time yet. The future has become our favorite scapegoat, the one we quietly carry away from everything that demands courage now. The future, when misused, is not just illusion. It is a strategy, an ethical escape, a way of hiding our omission behind an idea that has no face, no date, no form. We transfer to what has not yet arrived everything that we do not want to confront. Gaston Bachelard was not condescending about this. For him, the relationship with time was also a moral issue. The imagination of time does not free us from acting. On the contrary, it makes us responsible. He believed that the more the human being projects the future, the more they must commit to the present. But what we often do is the opposite. We project in order to postpone. This escape is not abstract. It has a body. Think of governments that admit to the destruction of the planet, but guarantee that the coming decades will bring sustainable solutions. How many companies continue to exploit human lives in production chains, saying that the ESG strategic plan is underway? How many dysfunctional families swear that one day they will sit down and talk? The future has become the dead file of ethics. It is no coincidence that so many people can sleep peacefully after making cruel decisions. The trick is simple. Redemption is placed at a distant point. I will make up for it later. I will deal with this later. Soon, I will change. That soon is the comfort zone of the conscience. Procrastination is the alibi of cowards. Bachelard said that temporal imagination, when not guided by action, is betrayal against reality. There are crimes of the spirit that consist of dreaming where action is required. And this applies at all levels. People who betray their own principles, believing it is just for now. Peoples who tolerate injustices because the system will evolve. Individuals who remain silent in the face of the absurd because it is not yet the time to speak. Here, philosophy clashes with moral psychology. Neuroscience shows us that our brain uses the future as a regulator of guilt. Studies from the University of Zurich indicate that people are more likely to postpone difficult decisions when they have the option to compensate later, even if they do not do it. It is as if the simple act of projecting the future solution is enough to alleviate the pain of present failure. And this is dangerous, because by promising to change, the individual believes they have already begun to change, but they have not. It is necessary to say clearly, the future is not an excuse. Time not yet lived does not justify what is being neglected now. No change occurs by calendar. Change is choice, decision, gesture, and every real decision is born in the now. What Bachelard proposes is an ethical turn. Time is not waiting, it is a demand. The notion of the future must pressure the present, not liberate it. It must summon us to responsibility, not alleviate our absences, because every time we use tomorrow as an excuse, we kill today as a possibility. It is no coincidence that the world's greatest regrets are not about mistakes made, but about actions postponed. People who failed to apologize, people who never said what they felt, people who promised to change and only stayed with the promise. The future, in this case, was an accomplice. The biggest mistake is not fearing the future, it is treating it as destiny. The future is not a place we go to. It is raw material that we mold now, with force, with consciousness, with risk. Whoever waits for the future to arrive is already late. Throughout history, the greatest human acts were not performed by those who predicted the future. They were performed by those who refused to accept it as it was designed. Revolutions are not born from the calendar. They are born from denial. From the denial to accept time as a tyrant. Gaston Bachelard saw time as energy. For him, The temporal relationship is a creative task, not a contemplative one. Time only exists to the extent that we transform it. That is, time is not a river that passes, it is a clay that is kneaded. And whoever does not put their hands in that clay ends up being molded by foreign hands, foreign policies, foreign narratives, foreign lives. We thus reach a radical turning point. We are not victims of the future, we are its authors. And this changes everything, because the responsibility becomes ours. No longer that of chance, luck, the stars, prophecies. Every step we take now is a sentence written in the time to come. The future does not visit us, we write it. That is why waiting is a poison. Procrastination is a political choice. Passivity, a form of complicity with what is. Waiting for things to improve, without touching them, is the most polite form of abandonment. In practice, this philosophy asks for action, but not just any action, lucid action. Action that understands time as a project, not a burden. You build the future when you make a difficult decision now. You break with a pattern that slowly destroys you. You forgive someone that time would not erase on its own. You face an uncomfortable truth with the maturity of someone who does not want to repeat inherited pain. All of this is a time-constructing act. Science confirms it. Neuronal plasticity shows us that the brain is malleable with conscious and repeated choices. We are not trapped in inherited temporal patterns, neither cultural, nor affective, nor economic. We are editable. And as Bachelard said, true imagination is what modifies the real. That is, whoever only dreams of the future is fleeing. Whoever acts on the now is creating. This point does not ask for contemplation, it asks for positioning. Every time we project tomorrow, we need to ask ourselves, has this thing I am waiting for already begun in me? Because if it hasn't begun, it will not come. The greatest power of the human being is not to predict, it is to do, to make time bend to intention, to make the now a firm ground and not a hallway between postponed beginnings. The future, when well understood, does not paralyze, it summons. And Bachelard concludes this thought with one of the most dangerous and most liberating phrases. Time is a field of possibilities, not a waiting line. The only question that remains is, what are you going to do with the clay you have in your hands now? Because the future is already being made, with or without you. Time does not wait, it charges, it transforms, it takes away. And yet, it is in time where we deposit everything we have. Our dreams, our fears, our plans. But the truth, naked and raw, is that the future owes us nothing. We are the ones who owe something to it. In this video, we talked about that, about how the memories of the future, yes, those silent images that have not yet happened mold who we are today. Every choice you make now, every word you fail to say, every fear you silence, all of that is already writing the chapters of the time to come. And if you made it this far, it was not in vain. Perhaps because something within, in your thought, in your history, in your urgency, felt that this conversation was also yours. Therefore, if this content touched you, woke you up, or made you think, you can go beyond the viewing time. You can actively participate in the construction of this community. Becoming a channel member is more than a button. It is a silent pact with the continuity of this type of content. It is saying, this makes sense to me. And as a member, you get access to behind-the-scenes content, extra content, exclusive polls, and above all, you have a voice, you have presence. Another way to support is with super thanks, a simple and direct way to say thank you, concretely when you feel that the video delivered something that time alone would not bring. It is not about obligation, it is about belonging. But I want to be honest, just by watching this far, you are already helping a lot. Every view, every comment, every share, all of that sustains what we do. None of this is just mine, it is ours. This channel only exists because there are people on the other side who believe that reflection can also be revolutionary. If you can, support. If you want to, share. But above all, Stay here. Because the future is not going to wait, and we need to build it together.